Can you hear me okay? I do have a microphone, so I'm hoping that helps. So, how is the sound? Can can y'all hear me? Okay, the sound is good. Here's a question. Can you hear the music playing? Cuz if you can hear the music, I'm going to have to move cuz YouTube will demonetize this video. Yes, you can hear the music or yeah, you can hear the music. Ugh. Okay. All right. So if the music is faint, we are good to go. Um, as long as you can't make it out. And maybe I'll switch the microphone to this side away from the speaker. Okay. All right. So, hey, y'all. Hey, I am here in Stockholm, Sweden. Um, I am sitting in, let's see if y'all can see this. Maybe that didn't do anything. Oh, okay, that did something. I am sitting in the sunroom. You can see my cottage. My cottage is back there. It is, as you can guess, if you saw my if you saw my Instagram stories yesterday, you saw my tiny house. You saw my tiny house living situation while I'm in Stockholm. It is very small and it's not very bright in there. So I thought sitting out here in this, they call this the sunroom. This is where we have breakfast at this hotel. Um, I thought this would be good because we still had some light. Now the sun is going down, so I don't know what that's going to look like in a little bit, but um, so here we are. For those of you who are new, uh, my name is Adelia Borishade. I am the founder of Picky Girls Travel Solo, um, a Facebook group for Black women, female solo travelers, all ages, all levels of experience. I am also a financial educator. I help women understand their finances, get them into good shape so that they can live the life that they want. For me, that has been living outside the US for the last 6 years. Um, and so that in the middle of September, just for the hell of it, I could go to Denmark, Sweden, and where's the other place? Norway. So if being able to live your life that way sounds interesting, or if you want to know more about travel or living abroad, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so that you'll know the next time I go live. It is Friday after, well, here it is like 7 o'clock at night, I think. I don't know, y'all. But I am going live at 1 p.m. Eastern today because I am in, I forget where I am, because I'm in Stockholm and trying to do my regular Wednesday night live. I don't stay up that late, y'all. Um, I did get some ice cream, some peanut butter ice cream. I don't know if y'all can see that. I saw it at the grocery store, and because it was peanut butter, I obviously had to buy some. It's not bad, but mm, my tooth is not liking this cold weather. The peanut butter cups that they have in here, the chocolate on them is too thick for you to eat it with ice cream and enjoy it. I know that's more than y'all want to know. It's a little inside baseball, but what else? Okay, so how are y'all doing? Is my mic not? I tried to put the mic. Okay, that's probably as close to my face as the mic going to get. Okay, so I asked y'all in a community post on Wednesday, what did you want to talk about today? Since we were going live, since I didn't go live Wednesday. And for the most part, y'all want to know how this trip is going. So a little background for the folks who are new or who didn't catch my previous video. I I have no sense of time. I can't even tell you when we did that. But we had a conversation about why I was taking a trip to Scandinavia. Um, I I've discussed on this channel before um, country shopping and how you need to like figure out what are those things that are most important to you and use that to help you like generate your list of possible countries to live in as well as help eliminate countries. Well, several Scandinavian countries had been at the top of my list, although in the last 6 years abroad, I have never lived in a Scandinavian country. I don't, is Iceland Scandinavia? I don't think it is. And that's the only Northern European country that I had visited. So, because I was going to be in the US already for a separate event, um, and I ended up finding a really cheap flight. It seemed like now was the time to go to Scandinavia and figure out, is it a place that I could live? Um, and one of the reasons that I was considering, or I am considering it as a place to live, is because um, I would like to have residency in another country. And these countries that I am visiting all have a route to residency that would not require me to marry anybody. I could just be somebody's girlfriend. So um, that's how we got here where we are right now. So um, my travel from Mexico City to Newark last week. Yeah, I guess that was last week. I left on Thursday. Um, was fairly uneventful. I mean, other than like my flights were on time. Uh, no, okay. I was like, there was something that went crazy last week, and it wasn't the flights. It was once I landed in Newark. I've flown through Newark a bunch of times, but I've never visited there. And I did not understand where you were supposed to go to get your hotel shuttle. Uh, had to call somebody, figured that out. I go out there to get into the hotel shuttle, and I wasn't sure I was going to arrive at the hotel alive, to be frankly honest with you. I was texting Rashida while my life was in danger, just so they would know that if they didn't hear from me, if she didn't hear from me later on, it was the person who picked me up from the airport that had caused my demise. It was wild and crazy. I wasn't sure I was going to make it to the hotel in one piece. I did. Uh, the event went well in Newark. And then on Monday, I flew to Oslo, Norway. So that's how we got here. So I was in Oslo for a couple of days. Um, how do I feel about Oslo? Meh, meh. Several people I've noticed in the chat have commented on the jacket. I think it's raining right now here in Stockholm, and I think it's probably high 40s, low 50 degrees. Um, so, yeah, it is cold, and that was definitely a concern of mine because I don't like the cold. I like the heat less, but like they have some serious winters in this part of the world. So coming this time of year would at least, like, I guess, help me, or that was my thinking. It would help me figure out um, whether or not this was the right, like I could do this weather. Um, right now, the jury is still out, but I'm thinking I probably can't, because this is like winter time in Mexico City, and I think I'd be fine with it if it lasted for a couple of months. But right now, like, this is still fairly warm. People kept telling me in Oslo, oh, yeah, people are still eating outside on the streets. Like, I went to this one restaurant in Oslo, and at every table, they had a blanket so that if you were sitting outside, you just wrap yourself in the blanket and you keep it moving. Um, and to know that it is going to get colder than this, and it's going to stay colder than this, and it's going to snow, I don't know about that. I don't know about that. So drop your questions in the chat, and we will answer some of them. Also, I wanted to answer some of the questions that we got on the community post um, that I put up on Wednesday. I think it was Wednesday. I have no sense of what day of the week, what date it is. I am totally screwed up there. Okay. So we're gonna talk about the men in a little bit, y'all. So just hold on to that. Um, okay. the it's not like painfully cold. It is cold, and this I have no problem with how cold it is right now. Although sleeping in the cottage last night, um, I don't know. It was cold in there because there's a radiator, but I don't know how to work a radiator, and it's not in English. Although my my tiny bathroom, the floors are heated. I did not know that until I walked in there this morning, um, and I was like, "Ooh, this is nice." Now taking a shower in that teeny tiny shower, I I could barely turn around completely. And then it was like, okay, so how do I get out of the shower? Because only one of the shower doors can open because the sink is right there. Um, that place is so tiny. But anyway, y'all don't want to hear me talk about that. Okay, so, oh, I just saw this question. Okay. Somebody had asked, what was the most unexpected thing? Uh, First thing struck me when I got off the plane into the airport in Oslo was how quiet it was. Like, I thought, had the airport been evacuated, why is it so quiet in here? And that just threw me off. And I guess I've forgotten how used I am to the constant level of noise. And I know that sounds really horrible, uh, if I'm talking about Mexico City and saying there's a constant level of noise. But okay, y'all have heard me say this before. In Mexico City, there are 22 million people. There are 5 million people in all of Norway. Sweden and Denmark have slightly more, but in Oslo, I think I think it's almost 500,000 people. So there just aren't as many people, but things were just quiet. I took the ferry from the city to the from Oslo. There's some islands, and then you can see inside of the fjord. Um, the ferries were quiet. I recorded that, and it's like you could, if you weren't looking, you wouldn't even see the ferries coming. So that was the thing that struck me first, was how quiet it was, and even on the streets, it was very quiet. And that's the second thing that surprised me in Mexico City, you know, traffic rules as we know them in places like the United States aren't, they're not even suggestions in Mexico City. So like I always, when people come to visit me and we're walking somewhere and crossing the street, I tell them, okay, we go when we can. Like don't worry about what the traffic light says. So that means technically lots of jaywalking. So one, I'm not used to crossing at a crosswalk and waiting for the light to be appropriate for when I go. Uh, but cars in Oslo, and they do it here too in Stockholm, they stop for pedestrians. And I know that probably sounds like, well, duh, they're supposed to, but that is not how it works in Mexico City. So I walked up to the curb. I'm consulting my map. I'm thinking, I'm waiting for the cars to go by, but yet they're all stopped waiting for me to cross the street. And I kept seeing this over and over. Like if they see somebody walking toward the street, they will stop so that that person can go before the person even gets to the edge of the street. I was not expecting that. That surprised me a lot. That surprised me a lot. The weather, I see there are several questions about the weather. Um, it was not rainy in Oslo. But here it is rainy, and I think it will be rainy in Copenhagen as well. Um, but temperature wise, it is a little colder here in Stockholm than it was in Oslo. Somebody asked, is there a lot to do in Oslo? I don't think so. Oslo is like, it's like a town. It's really pretty. It is very pretty. Lots of plants, lots of greenery, lots of flowers. Um, it's very pretty. But is there a lot to do? It did not feel that way. I did go out at night to a live music venue. I had no idea who I was going to see because the sign was in Norwegian. Although people seem they switch between Norwegian and English like seamlessly. Um, like there no hiccups there at all. So I guess if I had asked somebody, they would have told me. But the sign itself was just in Norwegian. Um, it was it was not the experience I was expecting it to be. The performers were fine, but the experience of being in that venue, uh, it wasn't what I expected. I saw groups of young people. They look like college age folks. Looked like they were on their way somewhere. Now, where is that somewhere? I don't know. I took a walking tour in Oslo, and the tour guide said that Norway has the strictest laws to when it comes to drinking, the strictest in Europe. You have to be 23 to be able to go into like a club. You have to be 18 if you want to drink wine or beer. You have to be 21 to drink hard liquor. And so they call it a party boat, but it is not really a party boat that the folks under 23 will use to go. I guess they're going to Denmark. I wasn't paying attention, but they can drink there. They can't drink on land in Norway. So I did not get the feel that there was a lot to do. Walking around Oslo, it felt very much like a town, not like a city. When I got to Stockholm, immediate difference. Um, Seems like more people. I don't know if it's just more densely populated. Definitely, I feel like a much more substantial mass transit system here in Stockholm. And in both places, I have seen lots of different kinds of people, yes, the majority are of Scandinavian extraction, but I've seen quite a few brown and black people. Just, like in Oslo, there's a park that surrounds the royal palace, which is very close to where I was staying. And it looked like school groups or like people were on field trips. And in a group of, let's say, 15, 16 kids, there might be five brown or black faces. So you can definitely see, you know, I guess some changing in the ethnic makeup here. Um, so that was interesting to see. Okay, so I'm gonna look at the chat and see what questions that y'all have. Um, okay. Am I here alone? Am I traveling alone? Traveling alone. Uh, I travel solo. Picky girls travel solo. What? I I can see the door to my room from where I am sitting now, and a, I don't know if I don't I don't know if he's trying to find his room or whatever, but I saw him go up to the door of the cottage and put his key card in, and I'm like, no, homie, that's where I'm staying. You can't stay in there too. Okay. Let's see. I thought I saw some questions in here. Yes, it is cold. That is why I have on a jacket. We answered is there a lot to do in Oslo? What did you do with your original documents when you started traveling? Do you carry them with you or a scanned copy to present when requested? I assume, Lola, by this question, you mean like your passport and that sort of thing. Here, because this is Europe, I am going out with my Texas driver's license. I'm leaving my passport in the room because virtually everybody speaks English. So I know they'll be able to read my driver's license. Um, and everything is like pay by card. I did pay, I had gotten some cash out when I took the tour in Oslo to pay the tour guide. I thought that they might have a card reader, but I wasn't sure, so I just wanted to be prepared. She did have a card reader, so I went ahead and paid for that with the card and used the cash to buy uh, a $6 hot chocolate and a $5 pastry. And when I paid with cash, the woman was like, "Oh, you're paying with cash?" So I have not been carrying my passport with me um, because I don't want to lose it. And I'm an American in a place where lots of people speak English. I don't feel like there's the need to carry it on my person on this trip. There are going to be other trips that I'm taking this year where that will be different. Tracy, thank you for I can't tell if it's a super chat or a super sticker, but I just saw it, so thank you. Um, so yeah, I hope that answers your question about that. Um, that tiny shower. I think this room, I went back on the website because I had no recollection of choosing this room. Uh, Probably because I didn't book a room until the last minute. And so I went back on the thing to see, I think it might be 5 or 6 square meters is the total size of that room. And I'm sure that includes the bathroom. Something I discovered this morning is that if you have the door closed, it is very difficult to use the bathroom because you don't have the elbow room you need to like reach and oh, travel is so fun and full of adventure. So yeah, tiny shower. However, first of all, it's a real shower. Where I was staying in Oslo, It was not a real shower. The sink, the shower, the toilet were all together in one room, and there was just a curtain separating the shower from the toilet. So here, it's an actual shower. It has doors. For the most part, the water stayed in the shower. So, and the water got hot very quickly. So, other than, I can't really complain about that. Okay, hold on. The comments skipped up on me. Okay. All right. Can you talk about temporary residency requirements for the countries that you are exploring? I can talk about it in very broad strokes. Basically, uh, in order to get residency in Europe, you need to either be going to school, have a job, or be related or connected to someone in a family way. Um, Getting a job is hard if you do not have a European work permit or a European passport. It's hard. So, uh, family reunification, like if your boothang is a permanent resident or a citizen, they can sponsor you for a family reunification visa, and y'all don't have to be married. Whether or not there needs to be proof that, like you've got money or that your sponsoring boo has the money, that varies from one country to another. I did a podcast episode. I put it up about 2 months. It's an older podcast, so there's no video. Um, it's about starting a business abroad. The guest was a lawyer who opened a gym in Rwanda, I believe, but her boothang lived in Denmark. And so she got that kind of visa, and she talks about how they had to like put up a certain amount of money to guarantee like that she would not be a drain on the system. All of the countries don't have that requirement. Some of them do. When you travel somewhere but have no idea how long you'll stay, need to provide proof that you'll leave the country, do you just buy a ticket the day of and cancel it within 24 hours? You know what? In all of the traveling I have done, that has never happened. Um, when I was leaving Colombia, flying Copa Airlines to go back to Mexico, they were like, but you have an American passport. Um, we need to have you need to have a ticket showing you're not just going here. That was the airline's requirement. It wasn't Mexico's requirement, and I just argued with the woman until she let me go. But I have heard that some people do that. I know that there are companies that will sell you a seat so that you can fulfill that requirement. But that's never happened to me on any of my travels. Um, yeah, I was just blown away by how quiet things were in Oslo. Um, Here's the thing. I have no like real plans in any of the places I am going. So today I just walked out of the hotel and started walking. And then I just kind of popped in, popped there, saw what was interesting, and ended up at a museum. I did not have the desire to wander like that in Oslo because it wasn't as interesting. What was that they said on the Kardashians about uh, Courtney being the least interesting to look at? I feel that way about Oslo. Okay, here is a question. Are the men all tall and or blonde? Lots of blondes, Are they all tall? No. And that's a bit surprising for me how many men, and this is from what I've seen as well as what I've seen on Tinder. A lot of the guys are like 170, 175 centimeters. I'm 5'6" and I'm 168 centimeters. So definitely shorter than I was expecting, but lots of blondes. And today in Oslo, not Oslo, where am I? Stockholm, I would say there are a lot more redheads than I was expecting. The sun has gone down. So I don't know if y'all can still see me. And there's no real lights in here because this is the sunroom. So if it gets too dark, we'll just have to uh, wrap this up. Okay, so yeah, not so many talls, not as many as I was hoping. I was hoping to be in the land of the giants. Not so much. How was the flight between Norway and Sweden? Was it expensive? Okay, I think my timing was bad because y'all know my flight from New York to Oslo was $241. And so I was like, okay, I sat down in Oslo and then I'll figure out where I want to go from there. Initially, I wanted to go from Oslo to Copenhagen, but hotel rooms were like really expensive for this weekend. Turns out it was the Queen's anniversary and something else was going on. So hotel rooms were cheaper here, so I booked Stockholm first. But the flight was the most expensive from Oslo to Stockholm. This flight probably cost me $80. The flights from here to Copenhagen and from Copenhagen back to Oslo are probably like $40, $50 one way. And that's with just an underseat bag. So I found out today in my wanderings that tomorrow is the Stockholm Marathon. So I don't know if that's why the flight prices were up, but for all of the places, rooms like occupancy rates were a lot higher than I was expecting them to be. Um, let's see. Mm-hmm. Do they? Do I have a bigger room? I'm in the tiny cottage, but I knew the rooms would be small. That room actually has two windows. Most A lot of places I was looking at in my price point, they were like, "Girl, we ain't got no windows." So and I have my own. I have my own little area out there. Uh, in theory, I could be eating outside, but it's rainy and it's cold. So that that part did not work out like planned. Okay. Let's see. Are there still any COVID restrictions or vaccines required? Not not here. When I was at JFK waiting for my flight to Oslo, next to us was a flight going to Frankfurt. And they kept having to make the announcement that they were required to wear masks on the plane. And you could see the people like digging in their pockets and putting on the mask begrudgingly. Here, nobody is wearing a mask. There's like me and a couple of old people, but no, you wouldn't know that there is a pandemic here. Although today in Stockholm, I passed a place that was giving out COVID vaccines. So, but there are no restrictions, there are no requirements, there's no proof of anything that you need to enter the country. Um, Not at all. Okay. What about the food? It's expensive as hell. That's what the food is. Somebody just told me, they were like, oh, you're in Stockholm now. It's going to be cheaper than Oslo, but Copenhagen is just as expensive as Oslo. Uh, I had posted on IG in Oslo, hamburgers were like $50, $60. I'm guessing that is because the country is very mountainous and they don't have a lot of flat places to raise cows. Um, I had a hamburger here today, and it was hamburger and fries was like $16. Uh, I was not seeing those kind of prices in Oslo. So the food is expensive, and I don't like Norwegian food. I don't like Swedish food. So that's making eating really interesting. I the museum I went to today, I was getting hungry, and upstairs they were like, we have a cafe. So I was like, I'll grab a muffin or something. First of all, the cafe was a whole like high-end restaurant. That's number one. I sit down, the man gives me the menu. There is not a single thing on this menu that doesn't have 5 different vegetables in it. The glasses of wine were like $16 for a glass of wine. And it was like, or you could end your meal with a pastry, and pastries were like $6. But there was not a single thing on the menu that I could eat. So, because it was raining, I caught the metro back, and I pass this deli. I go in there, I'm looking at the menu. Not a single thing was something I can eat. There are plenty of, especially here in Stockholm, plenty of like international cuisine. There's an Indian place, there's a Korean place. Like, I feel like Stockholm is definitely more international than Oslo was. So there are options in that sense. But as far as the traditional food, nah, fam, that's not working. Is this too dark for y'all? Let me know if we're too dark here, because I don't have a light, and I was like, maybe there's a light I could sit next to, but there really isn't. I think I'm doing as good as I can there. Okay. There is I don't know if y'all seen the show Ugly Delicious on Netflix. There is a place that is in Copenhagen that's mentioned there, and somebody was like, you should go there, good Mexican food. I pull it up. She has tacos that I would eat. Two tiny tacos like that, $16. Every time I look at food prices, it just blows my mind. Grocery stores, substantially more affordable than like eating at a restaurant. But the restaurant prices, they're, especially because you got to remember, like, I'm used to prices in Mexico City. If you're used to US prices, it might not feel that bad for you. But as far as what to eat, let me tell you, they love some vegetables here. Let's see. Thank you, Bridget, for this super chat. I appreciate that. Okay. Angela wants to know any boothing action since you've been there. I got some feelings about all of this. Okay. First of all, Tinder is going to Tinder no matter where you're at. So, I switched my locate. I went ahead and I paid to be able to see who liked me on Tinder first. Um, and I put in the 3 locations where I was going to be. And so, since I was going to Oslo first, I switched my location to Oslo and got virtually no bites. folks in Oslo wasn't checking for your girl. Um, I don't think I got a single. If a dude liked me in Oslo, and of those I who I then swiped right on, either he never messaged, or if I messaged, he never returned. There might have been one where, like, I messaged, he replied, I asked a follow-up question, never heard from him again. So Oslo was a bust. I can't tell you that I even saw like loose men in Oslo. It seemed like everybody was already partnered. Or maybe just the places I wasn't where the loose men hang out in Oslo, and I couldn't figure out where that was. Um, so there's that. Uh, I got a whole lot more interest in Stockholm. I got the most interest in Copenhagen. I have some dates lined up in Copenhagen. Um, Stockholm is not as there were some folks who liked me in Stockholm. I swiped right on them. Maybe I messaged, but I can't look now because my phone. I'm using my phone for this live. Um, but there was more interest in Stockholm than there was in Oslo, which is fine because I'm not checking for Oslo. So I think we're just not made for each other. Um, so uh, Copenhagen has some interesting options. In particular, two of the folks that I match with in Copenhagen have a connection already to Mexico, which is very promising. Because if your mind is already open to, like, oh yeah, I like to visit Mexico, or I've been there a couple of times, that's promising. Okay, so Denmark might be a maybe. Don't know about Sweden. Don't know yet, but so far ain't nothing happening. So maybe when I finish this live, there are quite a few bars here, because that's the other thing. I think bars are where people go to socialize, but I'm seeing socializing in groups. Um, I don't know. Somebody sounds too cold to be single. I think it is. I think that is what it is. So I may look around here and see, because I could definitely tell you the vibe. And that's the other thing. I was in Oslo at the beginning of the week. Um, from what I understood, there was supposed to be some stuff jumping off this weekend. I noticed a difference with it being Friday night here. There were just more people. They were getting off. They were out at the bars, in restaurants. So who knows? Maybe tonight or tomorrow something will happen here in Stockholm. Winnie says Oslo is probably a fishing village. That it has that vibe, like a step up from a fishing, like a classy fishing village. Like if the fishing village had some money to like pay for infrastructure and beautification, that's the vibe. And that's not to say people are like living in wooden houses. It looks like a city, but the vibe is fishing village. Mia is not here, although very dog friendly, except you can't take a dog in the supermarket. I've seen signs about that, but like it's been so cool to see people get on and off the metro and their dog is on a leash and the dog's like, okay, we're riding the metro. So no, it seems very pet friendly here. Okay. Can y'all still see me? Because it's getting dark. Um, Talking about those are NYC prices. Yeah. And that's the other thing. I had sticker shock when I was in Newark. Like, ooh, y'all pay these prices every day. Woo. I am not about that life. Okay. Um, all right, here we go. I'm back. I'm caught up. How we talked about the food is expensive. Okay. Monica mentioned Sweden never had really strict COVID restrictions. Their approach was just to tell the higher risk people to stay home. I knew it was, I couldn't remember if it was Norway or Sweden that basically sacrificed their seniors because they were like, we're not going to stop living our lives. So that would probably explain some of the looks I had wearing my mask. People are like, what's that like? Okay, even in the US when I was in Newark, because we know as far as the US is concerned, the pandemic is over. I could still see people selling masks. There were still people who had them. Maybe they weren't wearing them on their face, but they had them. Here, I have not seen a mask sold anywhere. Now, there is hand sanitizer, which there was a complete lack of when I was in the United States. So it's interesting to see the different approaches. Um, yeah, traditional food here. Think about it. This is a very cold climate and maybe not the best for, at least in Norway, for farming. Because, like in Iceland, there's virtually no arable land. So things are going to be like root vegetables, things that are pickled. None of that is exciting to me. None of that. Okay. Um, I'm not sure why pastries are such a big thing, but y'all know I love pastries. And one of the potentials in Denmark is a baker and was like, hey, I'm gonna take you to this pastry place that supplies pastries to the royal family. You're talking my language, homie. You're talking my language. Um, okay, Sweden has good quality cheese, bread, and other simple things. Okay, now tap water. Somebody imagine tap water is good and free at least. Okay, I haven't noticed it here, but in Oslo, there would just be like a thing for tap water and a stack of cups for you to do that. The water in Oslo did not taste as good as the water in Iceland. I don't know if y'all have had Icelandic tap water, but it is delicious. The Norwegian water did not measure up. Uh, the water I've had here has been okay. All right. Okay. Not like the pepper says, is the food expensive for everyone or are Norwegian wages keeping up with the cost of living? The, the person who told me like, hey, you'll have cheaper prices in Sweden was like, because they make less. And that salaries are higher in Norway and in Denmark. And that my response was, is it that the prices are lower because they make less, or they make less because the prices are lower? Chicken, egg, I don't know. But there is some connection between prices and what wages are. Malmo, Sweden is basically across a bridge from Copenhagen, and there are a lot of people who live in Malmo but work in Copenhagen. So they're doing geo arbitrage. They are making the Danish salary but living where prices are lower in Sweden. I didn't know that before today. Thank you, Janetta, for the super chat. And here's the thing, even if a Scandinavian boo don't work out, because one of the attractions is supposed to be that they are more like feminist and more egalitarian. I don't know what I thought that was going to translate to. But so far, I'm not feeling like at their core, these men are that much different. Maybe we haven't had deep enough conversations yet, but men are men. That's where we're at right now. Men are men. Uh, okay. Speaking of infrastructure, how's the internet speed? Here in Sweden, I've been pleased. I don't know if the internet I had in Oslo was just bad or if it's because of the building I was in. I was in a very old building. So I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, if things in go well, there would be another trip and a longer trip. And the Netherlands is still on the list. Um, I think in my head, going back to how we were talking about, is everybody tall? I think in my head, I was expecting Alexander Skarsgård's like everywhere, and apparently he is exceptional amongst men from this region. He is not the norm. So that's been a little bit of a letdown, but it is what it is. I don't know about the vocal cord thing with dogs. I've never heard that um, about Sweden. Will I return to this area if the mission is unsuccessful? I don't know, because it's expensive. But I would like to come back to Stockholm, and I suspect I'm really going to like Copenhagen. So maybe I'll have to put a little bit more work into figuring out how to do it more affordably. I don't know. I don't know. But Norway ain't gonna see me again. That's highly unlikely. Um, okay. Uh, are you wearing a ring on your married finger on purpose? No, that is the finger it fits on, which is interesting because when I was in Newark, a fella shot his shot and he was like, "Oh, but are you married?" And I guess I'm so used to nobody even paying attention that I was like, "Oh, I guess that is supposed to be the wedding ring finger." Um, so no, that just happens to be the hand that it fits on. Um, excuse me. Mm, oh, uh, trying to scroll and it's not much better over here. Uh, how long are you going to be out traveling before you go back home? I will be back home in a week. Um, I've got a lot going on in October. I just decided I'm going to Cuba in November, so I'll be back shortly. Yes, Alexander Skarsgård played Tarzan, and he played Eric Northman on True Blood. He's Swedish, and it's like, do they have any more of you back home? And it's like, no, they. I take that back. I have seen a few really beautiful men, but he and those who look like him are the exception, not the rule. Are there um there are somebody's asking about, are there more black than you thought in Europe, or is it rare? Um no, I think if I was in like France or Germany, there'd be many more black and brown people, because there are just more people. These are countries that have really small populations. Even Copenhagen doesn't have 1 million people in it. So, but it's, I guess I'm comparing it to like walking down the street in Mexico City, where it is, for me in my daily life, it is unusual to see as many black and brown people as I have since I've been here. So I don't know, that might be a math thing, a percentage thing, I don't know. But that's why, excuse me, it has struck me. Okay. Yeah. So let's see. We covered the weather, we covered the food, we covered what was surprising to me, we covered how expensive it is. How am I getting around? Um, Mostly in the cities, I am walking to get from the airport to the city. This is why I love Europe. You get off the plane, you exit customs, and there is a train station in the airport. Both Oslo and Stockholm have an express train that literally picks you up at the airport, takes you straight to town. Uh, they were about $20 one way. When I left the airport in Oslo, I did not take the express train. I took just a regular train. It was $11 maybe. So I love that about Europe. Getting to the airport is a piece of cake. Um, let's see, what other question? Am I dressed appropriately for the weather? I did struggle a little bit because y'all know my bag is like this big, and I had to dress for the hot weather in Newark, and I had to bring a coat and bring the warm clothes I had for here. I'm okay. Um, my pants aren't quite as thick as I'd like them to be, but I had for like 5 seconds contemplated not bringing my jacket. I would have been miserable had I not done that. So I'm glad I did. Let's see. We covered weather. I don't see any other questions here that we haven't covered. Um, what's the vibe? What's the food? The vibes, I told y'all this already. Oslo did not have the vibes. So yeah, that's that's how things are going here. Let me come back over here and see if y'all are having any other questions. So, um, so far, I mean, Italy was really, really dog friendly. Uh, I saw lots of dogs, you know, in Oslo as well as here. Definitely, I would say more dog friendly than I think much of the U.S. is. In the U.S., I feel the vibe is like, have your dog, but have it at your house. Don't bring it over here. And in countries where populations are more dense, I feel like there's less of that. It's like, yeah, of course you're going to bring the dog with you. Good question, Ballerina. Did you give yourself a budget for this trip? No, okay, here's the thing, y'all. Because of my no budgeting, because travel is one of those things that I take money off the top for. And I know that there is this pot of travel money. I don't really have, like, some people talk about, oh, I'm trying to travel on X amount of dollars a day, or I'm trying to keep the trip at this amount. I don't. I know that I generally don't like to spend more than $50 or $60 on a hotel room a night. That shit got blown out of the water right out the bat here. Um, so I never say, okay, this is what I'm trying to do this trip for. I don't, because like I have this pot of money that is like, I'll just I'll just spend that. So I did not have a budget. I spent more on, and I went. I feel like I was frugal with my hotel choices, and it was still more than I would normally spend. Food is fairly easy. I picked up snacks when I was in Newark, and have kind of, because I've always got to have emergency food, because you come to a country where all they eat are root vegetables, and then you can't eat. So, but I did not give myself a budget of this is how much I'm trying to spend on food. No, I just try to make good choices. But then there are some times when I show up and I'm like, you know what? Give me that $30 hamburger. So it will be interesting. What I will do is, when this trip is over, is tally up how much it cost me, because I'm curious to see how much it did cost. But I don't have a budget going in. I just would like to not spend all of my money, but I don't know if that's even possible here. So yeah. Let's see. What country is next for man hunting? Well, um, I kind of met somebody in Newark, so it looks like the U.S. might be the next place. I don't know. I don't know. We gonna see. We're gonna see how that works. Uh, I think the Netherlands is still on that list. Like, I could get with that. But then I think about, what are the winters going to be like? I don't know, y'all. It ain't Mexico, and that's a hard sell. That is a hard sell. Okay. Wait, what does it say? Should we? Oh wait, I lost it. Okay, I lost the stupid comment. Okay, I should we tune in Wednesday or next Friday? Uh, not okay. Wednesday. Am I gonna be on a plane? I think I'm gonna be on a plane Wednesday. So I don't think there's gonna be a live. I think I'm gonna be on a plane next Wednesday. So I don't think there'll be a live. So probably on Friday next week. Um, the gentleman that I met in Newark is not from Newark, so he has that going for him. Not that he's not from Newark, but that he travels, and so you know, if you travel and I travel, maybe this could work. So yes, this was the breakfast date. There is a second date in the works. Uh, And that's all I'll say about that right now. But there is a second date in the works. Whoops. Okay. Uh, yeah, I'll tally up the total, and we can see how much did this trip cost me. Yeah, winters in the Netherlands are super cold and super wet, and it's dark as well. And so that's a whole thing. I can tell you, just being in this little tiny room, yesterday I was working, and so I opened the curtains on both of them, and I was like, it's too dark in here. It's too dark, because my apartment in Mexico has a lot of light. And I was like, if you're struggling with this, how would you live here? So yeah. Okay. Um, RM talking about he better bring tacos. I was thinking about that. Uh, he is the kind of person that if I said, I would love some tacos, I think he would, if he couldn't bring them, he would have them delivered to me. So that is somewhat promising. That is somewhat promising. Okay, y'all. So I don't know if y'all got any other questions about my adventures thus far. Um, I can tell you that when this trip is over, I am probably going to, I'm going to probably immediately cancel my Tinder membership and see if they will prorate me for the month. Because Tinder, Tinder, Tinder is going to Tinder and it's going to be trash. The a man, I wasn't sure I was going to share this, but I find this hilarious. And this is emblematic of the nonsense that I get on Tinder. A man I matched with yesterday, you know, like I have basic rules like you got to have more than one picture on your profile. Write something about yourself. Like there need to be some words. It could be 3 words, but there need to be some words. If you're just pictures, like what I'm supposed to do with that. And so he had multiple pictures. What he wrote seemed a little wholesome, actually, honestly. But he had swiped right on me. I couldn't see anything objectionable. I swipe right on him. The conversation goes back and forth like, oh, you're in Stockholm. I love Stockholm. He lived in Copenhagen. He's like, I love Stockholm. Blah blah blah, blah blah blah. Okay, here's my number. The conversation stays G-rated. He's like, yes, here's a picture of my 1850 farmhouse I've restored. Okay, great. I wake up this morning. The first text I have from this man, and let me make sure I'm reading it to y'all so that I don't misquote the man. Hold on. Hold on, because I don't want to misquote him. Where is it? Did I delete? Okay. I was like, did I delete this picture? Oh, I did. Okay. This was the first text I got from this man this morning. Hope you had a good night's sleep and are ready to explore Stockholm. Just to make sure that I haven't misunderstood your profile, are we aiming at nice sex when we meet on Sunday? Or what are your expectations? Y'all, come on now. I assure you, my profile does not say, let me meet random men for sex. Okay? Trust me, it does not say that. But that's where he went. So, when I say Tinder is going Tinder, and here I am thinking this man might be a little too wholesome to be talking to me. Ha ha! Joke's on me. Joke's on me. No, actually, it's not that the question was bad. It's just like there was, at least I didn't feel there was anything in the conversation that would lead us to be there. But I'm a woman and I'm available. So I guess that's an automatic default to, yes, I will meet a random man I've never had a phone conversation with for sex. I don't know how it work out here in these streets. Like, exactly, Halisi. There was no on ramp to that. That's it's not like we had been exchanging flirty little, naughty little. No, no. I'm still stuck at 1850 farmhouse, and and this is where you start off this morning, like bright and early this morning, like 8 or 9 a.m. So, um, I am. My friend put it very, very well. She said it is about men, men, so many men. Men are gonna men. Yeah, you're right. Men are gonna men, and they so many men. And I guess this is the thing that was a surprise for me, or like I was hoping. Remember, I told y'all on paper the men here seem like they might be the match for me. Um, doesn't matter apparently if you grow up in a fairly egalitarian, feminist kind of a place. You still gonna be a man, and you still may struggle with seeing a woman as a person. So so uh, I'm just y'all know I barely want to talk to a man anyway. Like, can he bring me tacos? Like, I barely want to deal with a man anyway. And then this is how you gonna come at me? No, I am not cut out for the Tinder life. And I saw some people asked about other dating apps. I have been on Bumble. I have been on Hinge. Hinge was just a dry desert because Hinge is millennials. I'm Gen X. And none of those dudes are looking for a Gen X chick. Bumble, I've had my share of crazies on there too. Um, so, 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 yeah, I'm not cut out for this. A dude gonna have to just see me and be like, "Hey, she cute," and shoot his shot, because otherwise, it ain't gonna happen. It's not gonna happen on an app. I can tell y'all that right now. It is not. Cause see, here's the thing. I don't want nobody thinking, "Ooh, Adelia is a prude." I'm not. But can we at least, I don't know, have a little finesse to it? And I know English is not his first language, but still, can we have a little bit of finesse? Just a little bit. Make it fun, make it interesting, make it funny. Hell, give me something to work with. Yeah, y'all. So, yeah, that's that's where we're gonna leave this. Yeah, and Monica, you're right. He did say nice sex, so maybe he is wholesome after all. Maybe he is, but I barely have any patience for men ever, and I really don't have. And that's not the worst that was in my DMs on Tinder. That is not even close to being the worst, and I'm talking about on this trip. So he ain't the only one that lacks some finesse. I often think about those people who talk about, like, oh, I met my wife, I met my husband, straight people, because the gays, y'all have a different thing happening. But straight people saying that they met a partner on Tinder. I think, as with all things, there are exceptions, and those people are the exception, because it does not represent the experiences I have had on that app. There was the dude in Mexico City who, in less than 24 hours, basically started stalking me. Less than 24 hours after we had a date. So, Yeah, I'm not built for this. And I didn't even talk about this piece. This is work. And y'all know how I feel about work. Trying to be on the app, check the app, make sure the right city's on the app, see who's liked me. Okay, if I match with them, what's this conversation doing? What's this conversation? It's work. And I don't like to work. And I sure as hell don't like to be working behind a man. So I think this is the thing that is finally just going to make me be like, no more Tinder. I've had enough. So, um, the Scandinavian experiment continues. I've got a couple of more days in Stockholm. Then I head over to Copenhagen, where things should really get interesting. And then I head back to Mexico City. As we said, next Wednesday, I think I will be on a plane, so there won't be a live. So look for a live this same time next Friday. Okay? So y'all enjoy your weekends. I know nobody is probably watching from Mexico, but Viva Mexico. Today is Independence Day. I hope everybody is enjoying all of the festivities and celebrations. So yeah, okay. So if you haven't liked the video, like it. Subscribe. I don't know, do all those things. I'm probably supposed to tell you some other stuff. Like there's some stuff in the description, some links you should check out. Thank y'all for coming and listening and asking your questions. And I will see y'all next week, but there will continue to be like daily updates on my IG stories. Okay? Bye, y'all.